Hey everyone! Archaeological evidence shows the cross may have been X-shaped. So recently I watched the miniseries Jesus and Archaeology on Faith Life TV, which is basically like a Netflix for Christians. It's a show about explaining the archaeological method and showcasing some of their major finds located in Israel. And in one of their episodes, this guy, Dr. Israel Hershkovitz, along with his colleagues, argued that the cross upon which Jesus and numerous other individuals were crucified upon may actually have been X-shaped, rather than the T-shape we are all accustomed to. Why? Well, let me explain why. This whole idea hinges upon an archaeological discovery from the 1960s of a crucified man found in Jerusalem with a nail still implanted in his foot. It was dated to around the 1st century AD. In fact, this was a major archaeological discovery because prior to that, all we had to corroborate that crucifixion actually happened were historical records. But with this find, there can be no doubt that crucifixion was an actual execution method employed by the Romans, even in Israel. Now, the interesting thing about this find was the location of the nail in the foot. The person was not pierced through the top of the foot, the dorsal, but through the heel of the foot, challenging our long-held presuppositions of how crucifixion actually worked. So based on this find, scholars have drawn up new concepts, and initially they thought the man would be crucified through both heels with the legs bent sideways. However, it turned out the nail was actually too short to pierce both heels and the wood of the cross. Additionally, we now know that being crucified in this manner would cause the victim to pass out extremely quickly due to asphyxiation. The body being in a cramped position, the victim would have to push their body up each time they would want to draw in a breath, which would quickly tire out the person, and they would slump down back to their bent position and slowly die of asphyxiation. And one argument against this crucifixion method is, since we know the Romans were merciless, presumably they would want their victims to suffer as long as possible. So instead, this updated crucifixion concept has been drawn up with the feet nailed through the heels to each side of the vertical beam and the arms strapped behind the horizontal beam of the cross. A plausible theory. However, Dr. Israel argues that this crucifixion method would not suffice to hold up a full-grown body. He argues the arms would dislocate and the body would slowly sag down and fall from the cross. And therefore he believes in the X-shaped cross because it would provide for both of these things. It would provide for secure fastening of the body, and it would provide for long drawn-out suffering of the victim. Alright. Sounds reasonable, right? So why is this not the major consensus among scholars nowadays? Well, we'll see why. The Christian scholar Craig Evans, who was also featured in this miniseries, disagrees with the notion because he says he's not ready to believe that all our artworks depicting Jesus on the cross throughout the ages to be mistaken. He's not ready to doubt the credibility of each and every one of those painters. And Craig also makes the argument that the Greek word for Christus starts with the letter Chi, which looks like our English X. And if it's true that Jesus was crucified on an X-shaped cross, then why did his early followers not adopt the symbol of an X-shaped cross, but the symbol of a T-shaped cross? Why do we today wear a crucifix in the shape of a T and not in the shape of an X? Surely his earliest followers would have seen some connection there to his name and the shape of his cross and used it as a symbol. And therefore Craig finds the X-shaped cross hypothesis to be unlikely. So those are the two positions, and I'm just putting the information out there and let you make up your own mind. However, me personally, I would lean more towards either the traditional crucifixion method, which we see in all the artworks depicting Jesus, or the updated T-shaped crucifixion concept with each foot nailed through the heel to the vertical beam, which I showed you earlier. based on Craig's arguments and one of my own, I don't believe that one crucified victim being pierced through the heels equals to all crucified victims pierced through the heels. I find it plausible to think that the Romans may have switched up their crucifixion method depending on the victim or some other circumstances. Right? I mean, that's a huge assumption you have to make, that based on this one find, every single person who was crucified would have been crucified in the same manner as this one man. It's a huge assumption you have to make, and there's no evidence to substantiate it. One more thing, since I'm primarily making this video for Christians, I want you to know that even if you decide to adopt the X-shape hypothesis, that in no way contradicts the gospel narrative. Jesus could still have carried a crossbeam of the cross to his crucifixion site. He could still have died in 6 hours, and his blood could still have dripped down from the cross. Okay, thank you guys for watching. That's all. I hope this video has been informative to you. God bless. Goodbye.